Untamable alien girl bites back, until a human freed and tamed her. The marketplace of Dravok was alive with noise. Alien merchants shouted the prices of their slaves. Strange animals roared from iron cages, and the air smelled of oil, dust, and fear. People from 100 worlds walked among the stalls, some buying, some selling, all pretending not to hear the cries from the cages. Among the cages stood one that no buyer dared to go near. Inside sat a girl with wild eyes. Her hair was tangled like dry vines, her skin marked with scars of old chains, and her lips pulled back to show sharp teeth whenever anyone came close. She was young, but the fury in her eyes made her look older. Her name was not known. Some called her the Beast Girl. Others called her Untamable. The merchant who owned her was a fat, greedy man with skin like green leather. He had tried many times to control her, but she would never obey. He had whipped her, starved her, locked her in tighter chains, but she never broke. Now he only wanted to sell her, even if for a low price. Before she killed him one day, he stood before the crowd, shouting loudly, "Look here! Strong girl. Fast, wild, perfect for fighting pits. Perfect for hard labor. Buy her cheap." No one stepped forward. The girl's yellow eyes glared through the bars. A young alien boy had once tried to touch her, and she had snapped at him so quickly that the boy screamed and ran. Everyone remembered. The merchant, sweating, moved closer to the cage to show his bravery. "See? Harmless if handled right." He laughed. He reached inside the cage with one fat finger to poke her shoulder. Got in that instant, the girl's head shot forward. Her teeth sank deep into his finger. The merchant screamed in pain, blood dripping down his hand as he pulled it away. The crowd roared with laughter. Some clapped, some shouted insults at him. "She bit you again," one alien laughed. "You cannot tame her." The merchant's face turned red with rage. "Curse this beast," he shouted. He shook his wounded hand and glared at the girl, who crouched in the corner of her cage with blood still on her teeth. She did not laugh. She simply stared, as if daring him to come closer. Whispers spread among the crowd. "Dangerous, no one will buy her. She will kill her owner. Better to put her down." But among the crowd, one pair of eyes watched differently. A human stood there, tall and silent. His clothes were plain, travel-worn. His face was calm, almost too calm for such a noisy place. Unlike the others, he did not laugh at the merchant's pain. He did not mock or whisper. He only watched the girl with steady eyes. The girl noticed him. For the first time that day, her growl stopped. She tilted her head, curious. The merchant, still bleeding, noticed the human staring. "You, stranger, you want her?" He shouted, half desperate. "I will sell her cheap, too cheap. Just take her away from me." The crowd laughed again. "Son," aliens called out, "don't do it, human. She will bite your throat in your sleep." Others sneered, "You'll be dead in a day." The human did not answer. He stepped forward slowly, his boots crunching on the dusty ground. He stopped in front of the cage and crouched down to look directly into the girl's eyes. The market. Noise seemed to fade for a moment. The girl leaned forward, her face only inches from his, her sharp teeth bared. The crowd held its breath, expecting her to strike the bars, but the human spoke in a low, calm voice. "You're not a beast," he said. The girl blinked. His voice was not mocking, it was not cruel. It was quiet, steady, and different. The merchant barked a laugh. She bit me, she bites everyone, she is cursed. But if you want her, pay me and take her. I don't care if she kills you." The human stood tall again. "How much?" Gasps rose from the crowd. He was serious. He was really going to buy her. The merchant, clutching his bleeding hand, named a low price. "Cheap, she's useless anyway." "Take her." Coins exchanged hands. The cage was unlocked. The heavy chains rattled as the merchant shoved the door open. She's yours now, he spat. May she bite off your hand next. The girl's eyes flashed. The human stepped closer, not flinching, not afraid. He reached for her chains. The crowd pressed forward, waiting, hungry for the sight of blood. Everyone expected her to attack. To tear into the human's skin. As the lock clicked open, she lunged. A blur of teeth, claws, and fury. But the human did not hit her. He did not shout. He leaned close and whispered something only she could hear. Her body froze. Her claws stopped inches from his neck. The marketplace fell silent. The untamable alien girl, who bit everyone, who never obeyed, stared into his eyes. Something strange flickered in her face. Confusion, fear, or maybe recognition. The crowd erupted in noise. Did you see that? Why did she stop? What did he say? The human held the chain calmly, his voice low, his expression unreadable. The girl trembled, but did not attack. The merchant stared, wide-eyed. For the first time, someone had silenced the beast girl without pain, without chains. The humans. Words still hung in the air like a secret no one else could hear. And the girl, for reasons she did not understand, did not bite again. The market was still buzzing after what had happened. A human had stepped forward, bought the most dangerous slave, and somehow stopped her from biting him. No one could believe it. Whispers spread through the crowd like fire. The fat merchant, still clutching his bloody finger, sneered, "Fool human. You will regret this." But his voice was shaky. Deep down he was glad. The girl was no longer his problem. The human stood calm, the heavy chain in his hand. The alien girl crouched low, her chest rising and falling like a trapped animal. Her yellow eyes burned with wild light, but she did not strike again. Not yet. He spoke to the merchant in a steady voice. "The deal is done. She is mine now." The merchant spat on the ground. "Yours? She will kill you before the sun set. You are throwing your life away." The human did not answer. He crouched again, meeting the girl's eyes. "Stand," he said quietly. The girl bared her teeth, but something in his tone made her pause. Slowly, with a growl rumbling in her throat, she stood. Her limbs were lean but strong, scarred from past beatings. Chains rattled against her ankles. She looked like a storm barely held by ropes. The crowd pressed closer, their voices a mixture of curiosity and mockery. "He's mad," one alien shouted. "She will eat him alive," another laughed. "I give him one night." Ignoring them, the human loosened the chains. The crowd gasped. The girl could tear him apart if she wished. But his hands moved steady, unlocking one shackle at a time. The instant her wrists were free, she leapt forward with a hiss. The crowd screamed. But instead of tearing his throat, she stopped just short, her breath hot on his face. Her sharp claws hovered near his chest. The human did not flinch. He whispered again. Just one word. The girl blinked. Her claws trembled. Then slowly she stepped back. The crowd fell silent. Even the merchant's mouth hung open. The human wrapped the chain loosely, no longer as a prison, but like a rope to guide her. Then he turned and began walking through the crowd. To everyone's shock, the girl followed. Not calmly, not willingly, but she followed. Her eyes darted around, searching for danger, but her feet still moved behind him. Children hid behind their parents. Merchants pulled their wares back as the pair passed. "This is madness," someone whispered. "Humans are strange. No one else would try this." The girl growled at the whispers, ready to leap, but each time the human gave a short glance. Back. Just a glance, and she held herself. They left the marketplace, the noise fading behind them. The dusty road stretched ahead, lined with crooked huts and rusted signs. The twin suns were lowering, painting the sky orange and red. The girl tugged hard against the rope, testing him. She wanted to run, maybe to vanish into the wild streets. But the human stopped, turned, and spoke softly. "Run if you want. But Out there, you'll be hunted again, in chains again. Her breath caught. His words were simple, but true. She remembered the kicks, the whips, the cold nights in cages. She hissed, confused, unsure whether to hate him or trust him. He turned away and kept walking. Strangely, she followed again. At the edge of the city, they came to a small house made of stone and metal scraps. Smoke curled from its chimney, the smell of food drifting into the air. The girl's stomach growled loudly. She hadn't eaten properly in days. The human pushed the door open and stepped inside. He left it wide for her. He didn't force her, didn't drag her. He just said, "Come in." The girl lingered in the doorway, claws ready, eyes scanning for traps. But there was nothing, just a wooden table, a bed, shelves with a few books, and a small cooking fire. It was quiet, simple, almost peaceful. She stepped inside, but only halfway. Her body stayed tense, ready to fight. The human set a pot over the fire. The smell of stew filled the air, meat, herbs, and warm broth. The girl's eyes locked on it. She licked her lips without meaning to. He noticed, but said nothing. He poured himself a bowl and sat down at the table. Slowly, he began to eat. Calm and silent, the girl crouched near the door, watching. The smell was torture. Her stomach twisted with hunger. Still, she refused to beg. She would not crawl like a pet. The human placed a second bowl on the floor, not far from her. He didn't push it toward her, didn't force her to take it. He simply set it down and went back to his own food. The girl stared at the bowl. Suspicion burned in her mind. Was it a trick? Was it poisoned? She looked at him again. He kept eating his own stew, unbothered, as if he didn't care whether she touched it or not. Minutes passed. Finally, unable to resist, she moved closer. She sniffed the bowl, then dipped her fingers into the broth. Hot, real. She tasted it. Her eyes widened. It was good. She devoured it in seconds, licking the bowl clean. For the first time in years. Her hunger eased. When she looked up, the human was watching her. Not with fear, not with disgust. Just watching, as if studying a puzzle. The girl growled softly. She didn't understand him. He had not chained her, had not beaten her, had not shouted. Instead, he gave her food, freedom, and silence. The suns sank outside, the room growing dim. The human rose, carried his bowl away, and then spoke quietly. "You can sleep here tonight. The corner is yours." Then he lay on the bed, turning his back to her. No chains, no guards. No fear. The girl's claws flexed. She could kill him right now. She could sink her teeth into his neck. She crouched in the dark, staring at him, confused and restless. No one had ever turned their back on her like this. Why wasn't he afraid? Her body tensed, ready to move. The night was just beginning. The house grew quiet after the meal. Outside, the alien city still murmured with noise, merchants closing shops, drunks shouting in the streets, machines humming in the distance. But inside, only the crackle of the fire remained. The alien girl crouched near the wall, her back against the cold stone. The stew had filled her belly, but it had not silenced her thoughts. She watched the human closely, her eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. He lay on his bed, one arm folded under his head, breathing slowly. His chest rose and fell like someone who trusted the night. No chains on her. No guards, no lock on the door. He had left her free. She could not understand it. Her whole life had been cages, whips, hunger, hands that hurt her. Every owner had feared her. Every owner had chained her tighter than the last. But this human? He had turned his back to her. He had left himself open. Her claws flexed slowly, scraping against the floor. Fool, she thought. You think I am tame? You think food and a bed will soften my teeth? The firelight danced across her scars as she crawled closer, silent as a shadow. Each step made the wooden floor creak softly, but the human did not move. Her breath grew shallow. Her heart pounded in her chest. She was close now, close enough to strike. One lunge, one bite, and his blood would be hers. She hovered over him, claws raised. Her yellow eyes studied the line of his neck. She could almost taste it. The wild. Part of her screamed, "Do it. End him before he cages you too." But another part whispered different words. Why is he not afraid? Why does he trust you? Her claws shook. She had never hesitated before. Never. Yet here, in this quiet room, something stopped her. The human opened his eyes, slowly, calmly. He did not flinch when he saw her crouched above him. He did not shout. His voice was steady, almost like a whisper. "If you wanted me dead," he said, "you would have done it already." The girl froze. Her chest tightened. He was not wrong. She could have killed him the moment he bought her. She could have torn his throat when he unlocked her. Chains. And now again, she waited too long. Why? He asked, his eyes never leaving hers. Her mouth opened, but no words came. She had not spoken for years. Her throat felt dry, broken. Instead, she hissed softly, like an animal caught between attack. And fear. The human slowly sat up, still calm. He did not push her away. He did not grab her wrists. He only looked into her eyes, unblinking. "You're not a beast," he said again. The same words he had whispered in the marketplace. The sound of them hit her like a strike to the chest. Her jaw clenched. Her claws lowered slightly, though. Her body stayed tense. The fire popped, throwing sparks. Shadows danced across the walls. He stood, walked to the table, and poured water into a small cup. He placed it in front of her, then stepped back, giving her space. The girl's eyes narrowed. Was it another trick? Poison? A test? She sniffed the cup, then tasted it. Just water. Clean. Simple. Her throat ached as the liquid slid down. She had forgotten what clean water felt like. The human leaned against the table, watching but not pressing. His voice stayed quiet. "You're safe here. No chains, no whips, no cages." The words made her chest tighten again. Safe. The word meant nothing to her. But the way he said it made her want to believe. Still, she shook her head violently, growling. She did not want to feel weak. She did not want to believe lies. The human did not argue. He simply returned to his bed and lay down again, turning his back to her once more. The girl stared at him for a long time. She waited for the trick, the sudden chains, the whip hidden under the bed. But nothing came. Only silence. Only steady breathing. Finally, she crawled back to her corner, curling into herself. Her eyes stayed open, watching the human in the dark. Minutes turned into hours. The fire burned lower, the room fading into shadows. Her mind raced. Who was he? Why did he treat her this way? Why wasn't he afraid? Her claws relaxed slowly against the floor. Her eyes grew heavy. For the first time in years, she felt the weight of real sleep pressing down on her. But before she closed her eyes, she whispered a sound. It was not a word, not fully. More like a broken echo of something lost. Why? The human, half asleep, opened his eyes just enough to hear. But he did not answer. The girl hugged her knees tighter, confused and restless. Sleep took her at last, though even in dreams, she saw his calm eyes and heard his strange words. "You're not a beast." And, for the first time, she wondered if it could be true. Morning came with pale light spilling through the cracks in the roof. The alien girl stirred, her body stiff from sleeping on the floor. She opened her eyes and for a moment forgot where she was. No cage, no chains. The air smelled of stew and smoke, not rust and blood. Her gaze shifted. The human was already awake, sitting at the table, sharpening a small blade. Not once did his eyes leave the steel, yet he seemed to know she was watching. She rose slowly, stretching like a wild cat. Hunger twisted inside her again. She expected Him to chain her, to bark orders, to demand obedience. But he only pointed at a bowl on the table. Fresh bread and fruit. The girl's stomach growled. She hissed softly, half out of pride, half out of confusion. Still, she snatched the food and devoured it in silence. The human spoke calmly. "When you're ready, you can leave." The words froze her. Leave? No one had ever said that before. Owners had always locked, beaten, forced. Her eyes narrowed in suspicion. Was this another trick? He stood and strapped a pack to his shoulder. "I don't keep prisoners," he added. His voice was steady, almost cold, as if he meant every word. Girl's claws tightened against the wood of the table. A storm swirled in her chest, rage, confusion, a hunger not of the stomach but of the heart. She wanted to scream. She wanted to run. She wanted to understand. With a sudden growl, she bolted for the door. The wood slammed open, sunlight burning her eyes. She ran barefoot into the street, her hair wild, her breath ragged. The city smelled of smoke and iron. Merchants shouted from their stalls. Machines rattled. People turned and stared as she sprinted past, some laughing, some stepping back in fear. The beast girl is free. She ran until her lungs ached, until the noise of the marketplace swallowed her whole. Finally she crouched in the shadows of an alley, panting, trembling. Her chest heaved. Free, she thought, but what now? For the first time, she realized she had nowhere to go. No family, no clan, only memories of cages and pain. The streets were not safety, they were another kind of prison, filled with predators worse than chains. A noise behind her made her spin. At the end of the alley, a figure stepped from the shadows. Tall, broad, wrapped in dark cloth. The merchant's man. His eyes glowed faintly red, and in his hand he held a shock rod. Well, he sneered. The beast girl ran from her new master. Good, saves me trouble. The girl bared her teeth, backing against the wall. Her claws flexed, but her stomach twisted with dread. She remembered the merchant's threats. He would not give her up so easily. The man stepped closer. "The boss says you're worth more dead in the pits than free on the streets. Come quietly, or I'll break you." She hissed, lunging forward with fury. But the man swung the shock rod. Lightning cracked across her side. Pain seared through her body. She screamed, stumbling back. Her claws scraped the wall, her breath ragged. She tried to stand again, but her legs shook. The man laughed. "Untamable? You're just another beast to cage." He raised the rod for another strike. And then a shadow moved at the mouth of the alley. The human. His boots echoed as he stepped into the light. His face was calm, but his gray eyes burned cold. The thug spat. "Walk away, human. This isn't your fight." The human's voice was steady, like steel. "She's not yours anymore," the man laughed. "She's not yours either. She's nothing." He swung the rod again, this time at the human. But the human moved faster. His blade flashed, knocking the rod aside. Sparks flew. The thug cursed and stumbled back. The girl watched, stunned. She had expected him to let her go, to leave her when she ran. But here he was, standing between her and the man who wanted to cage her again. Her chest pounded. Why? Why would he fight for her? The thug roared, lunging with the rod. The human caught his arm, twisted, and slammed him into the wall. The rod clattered to the ground. For a moment, the alley went still. The human pressed the blade to the thug's throat. "Leave," he said. His voice was quiet, but the promise inside it was deadly. The thug's eyes widened. He spat on the ground, snarled, and stumbled back into the shadows. "This isn't over, human. She belongs to the pits. The merchant will come for her." Then he was gone. The girl sank to her knees, still trembling from the shock. She looked up at the human. He lowered his blade and extended a hand. For a long moment, she stared at it, unsure. Her pride screamed not to take it, but her body was weak. And his calm, steady eyes pulled her in again. Slowly, she reached out. Her clawed hand touched his. He pulled her to her feet. Her voice cracked, barely a whisper. Why? The human's answer was simple. Because you're not a beast. The word struck her deeper than the shock rod ever could. Her heart raced, not with rage, but with something new. Something she did not understand. And for the first time, the untamable girl did not try to run. The city never slept, but the human's small house felt like another world. The alien girl sat near the fire, her wounds still burning from the shock rod. The human had cleaned them, wrapping strips of cloth around her arms and side. His touch had been careful, not rough like others. She hated that it made her chest feel strange. The human said nothing as he worked. He tied the last knot, then sat back. His eyes met hers only once, steady as ever, before he turned away. He wasn't asking for thanks. He wasn't expecting trust. He simply did what needed to be done. The girl curled her claws into her palms. No one had ever cared for her wounds before. Not once. The thought made her restless, angry, confused all at once. Outside, the night deepened. But not far away, in the shadows of the marketplace, the merchant paced in fury. His swollen finger throbbed, wrapped in dirty bandages. Rage burned in his eyes. That cursed human, he spat. He stole my beast, and now the streets laugh at me. Around him, hired thugs waited broad-shouldered, armed with shock rods, clubs, and jagged knives. The merchant's voice dripped venom. Find them. Tear down that human's hole. Bring me the girl alive. She will bleed for the fighting pits, and the human will bleed for mocking me. The thugs grinned. Coins clinked in their pockets, promises of more to come. They slipped into the night. Back in the little house, the girl stirred uneasily. Her ears twitched. She heard footsteps outside. Too many, too heavy. Her breath quickened. She looked at the human. He was sitting at the table, sharpening his blade again, calm as stone. Danger, she hissed, her voice broken but clear. He glanced at her, then at the door. I know. The first crash came a moment later. The door splintered as a club slammed. Into it, shouts filled the night. The house shook with pounding fists and boots. The human rose, gripping his blade. He gave the girl one look. Stay behind me, she growled, baring her teeth. Her pride roared inside her. She would not hide. Not again. The door burst open. The first thug charged inside, swinging his club. The human moved fast. Steel flashed, and the thug crumpled to the floor with a cry. But more poured in, filling the small space. Shadows and shouts, fists and weapons. The girl's heart pounded. Her instincts screamed fight. She lunged with a snarl, claws tearing across the face of a thug. Blood sprayed. Another swung a shock rod at her, but she ducked and sank her teeth into his arm. He howled. The human fought beside her, silent and precise. Every strike of his blade was clean, controlled. He did not waste a move, but there were too many. Chairs shattered. The fire spilled sparks as a table was knocked over. The girl clawed and bit, wild and furious, but pain lanced through her side as a rod struck her wound. She screamed, falling to her knees. A thug raised his club, ready to smash her skull. The human's blade intercepted, steel catching wood. He shoved the thug back and pulled the girl to her feet in one motion. Stand, he ordered. Her body trembled, her breath ragged, but his words lit something inside her. She roared, pushing past the pain, slashing at the nearest enemy. For the first time, she was not fighting for herself. She was fighting with him. The thugs faltered, 2 down, 3 bleeding. The last one's back toward the door, eyes darting. The human stepped forward, his voice cold. Tell your master this. She's not for sale, not for chains, not for cages. The thugs dragged their wounded away, spitting curses. "This isn't over. The merchant owns this city. He'll have you both killed." Then the street went silent. Again, the girl panted, her body shaking. Her claws dripped with blood, not hers, but theirs. She stared at the human, chest heaving. He wiped his blade, calm as ever. Then he looked at her. For a moment, his eyes softened. "You're stronger than they know." Her throat ached. Words wanted to form but tangled inside her. She could only growl softly, her pride refusing to bow. Still, something new pulsed in her chest. She had leapt into the fight for him. Not because of chains. Not because of orders. Because she wanted to. The fire flickered weakly among the broken furniture. The little house was no longer safe. She knew the merchant would return, angrier, with more men. Maybe even soldiers. Her eyes narrowed and her voice broke into rough words. "They come again." The human nodded. "Then we'll be ready." The girl tilted her head, studying him in the dim light. He wasn't afraid. Not of her. Not of the thugs. Not even of the merchant who ruled these streets. And for the first time, she felt something sharp and strange in her chest. Not rage, not hunger. Something else. The untamable girl had found someone she could not understand. Someone who fought not to own her, but to stand beside her. And that made her more dangerous than ever before. The little house smelled of smoke and blood. Broken chairs lay scattered. The door hung from its hinges, and the fire sputtered weakly in the corner. The alien girl sat on the floor, her breath rough, her claws still red. The human moved quietly. As always, he bound her wounds again, his hand steady despite the chaos. She flinched once but did not pull away. His touch was gentle, firm, nothing like the cruel hands of the merchant. When he finished, he sat back and spoke in his calm voice. "They'll be back," she growled low in her throat. "Many. Come." Her words were broken, but each time she spoke, her voice grew stronger. He nodded. "Yes, the merchant won't stop. Not until he thinks he owns you again." Her eyes narrowed, glowing faintly in the dim light. "No. Own." The human's gaze met hers. "No, no one owns you." The words struck her chest like a blade. She didn't know why they made her feel heavy inside, like she might break. For so long, everyone had told her she was property, a beast to chain and sell. But his words cut through those years of lies. Before she could answer, a sharp knock rattled the broken door. Both of them turned. A small alien boy slipped inside. Eyes wide, face pale. He looked no older than 10. His voice shook. "I heard them. The merchant, he sent word. He says tomorrow he'll take her to the fighting pits. Says no human can stop him. He's bringing soldiers." The girl stiffened. Fighting pits. She knew them too well. A place where slaves and beasts were thrown into cages and forced to kill for entertainment. She remembered the screams, the blood, the endless cheering of the crowd. "No pits," she hissed, claws curling. Her body shook. The boy nodded quickly, terrified. "He'll come with many, more than you can fight. Leave now before it's too late." The human's face stayed calm, but his eyes hardened like steel. "Thank you. Go home. Stay safe." The boys scurried away, leaving silence behind. The girl turned to the human, chest tight. "Run?" she demanded. He shook his head. "No, if we run, he'll hunt us forever. He must be stopped here." Her throat burned. Fear and rage twisted inside her. She wanted to snarl, to curse, to fight. But part of her also wanted to listen, because he spoke with such certainty. She paced like a caged animal, her scars catching the firelight. Her voice cracked, breaking into rough words. "He, strong, many men, you won." The human stood and strapped on his pack. He checked his blade, his eyes steady. "Then we'll fight many, together." Her chest thundered. Together, the word was strange on her tongue. She had never fought for anyone but herself. She had never trusted anyone at her side. Yet here he was, standing in the ruins of his home, ready to fight for her. Her claws trembled. Her heart raged. Why? Why did he risk his life for her? Why? She finally whispered. The words sharpened the silence. He looked at her for a long moment. Then he said, "Because you are worth more than chains." The girl's breath caught. She wanted to scream, to deny it, but something deep inside cracked. She turned away, pressing her claws against the wall, fighting tears she didn't understand. Night, they did not sleep. The human sharpened his blade, stacking broken furniture to block the door. The girl crouched near the fire, ears twitching at every sound. Outside, the city whispered of what was coming. Everyone knew the merchant's power. Everyone knew the pits were waiting. But no one dared to help. At dawn, the suns rose, painting the sky red. The street outside grew quiet, too quiet. The girl's breath quickened. She could feel them coming. Boots. Armor. The heavy march of soldiers. The human rose, blade in hand. He looked at her once, his gray eyes steady. "Stay close to me." Her claws dug into the floor. For the first time, she nodded. The door crashed inward. Soldiers poured in, shields high, weapons flashing. Behind them, the merchant appeared. His swollen finger wrapped in black cloth, his face twisted with greed. "There she is," he bellowed. "My beast! Drag her to the pits. Kill the human." The girl roared, every scar, every chain, every wound in her memory exploding into fury. The human stepped forward beside her, his blade catching the first strike. Steel clashed, sparks flew. The air filled with shouts, roars, the crash of wood and stone. This was no longer about gold, no longer about cages. This was about freedom, or death. And for the first time, the girl fought not only for herself. She fought for him. The house shook as soldiers stormed inside, their boots hammering against the broken floorboards. Steel clashed with claws, shields slammed against walls, and the air filled with the smell of blood and smoke. The alien girl fought like fire unleashed. Her claws tore through armor, her teeth sank into flesh. For years she had been chained, beaten, caged. Now her fury poured out with every strike. No cage would ever hold her again. Beside her the human moved like a shadow of steel. His blade, cut clean, sharp and sure. He did not waste a single strike. When she staggered, he was there to block a blow. When he faltered, she struck first. Together they carved through the chaos. But there were too many. For every soldier that fell, more poured in. The merchant's voice rang above the roar, shrill and greedy. "Don't kill the beast." He shouted, "Chain her, she belongs to me." His swollen finger pointed at her like a curse. "The human is nothing, end him." The girl roared and leapt at the merchant, but soldiers blocked her path. A shield smashed into her ribs. She hit the ground, hard, coughing blood. Rough hands grabbed her arms, forcing chains around her wrists. "No!" She screamed, her voice broken but strong. The human fought to reach her, but the weight of soldiers pressed him back. His blade dripped red, his breath harsh. Still, he did not give ground. His eyes locked on hers across the room, steady, unshaken. "You're not a beast." He shouted. The words ripped through the noise. The girl's heart thundered. She felt the chains bite her skin, the cold sting of iron. But his voice cut deeper than the metal. With a savage cry, she surged upward. Her claws shredded the chains, sparks flew. The soldiers staggered back in fear. Her body shook with rage, but her eyes locked on the human. She did not fight for escape. She did not fight for revenge. She fought for him, the merchant's face. Twisted with fury. "Enough, take them to the marketplace. Let all see what happens when anyone defies me." The soldiers dragged them through the streets. Crowds gathered, whispering, pointing. The girl's wrists bled from broken chains. The Humans' blade dripped with battle. Still, neither bowed their heads. At the heart of the city, the merchant climbed onto a high platform. His voice boomed, "Behold, the beast girl, untamable, savage, mine by right, and the foolish human who thought to steal her. Today, they pay with their lives." The crowd murmured, half in fear, half in curiosity. The girl stood beside the human, her chest heaving. The merchant raised his hand. "Chain her again, break the human's neck." Soldiers moved forward, but then, the girl did something no one expected. She stepped forward, not toward the merchant, not toward the chains, but toward the human. The crowd fell silent. Slowly, deliberately, she reached out her clawed hand. Her fingers trembled, but they closed around his, not in rage, not in defiance, but in choice. Gasps rippled through the square. The beast girl, the one who had bitten, clawed, and cursed every master, had taken the human's hand willingly. The merchant's face turned pale. "No, no, this cannot be." The human's voice carried clear, steady as steel. "She belongs to no cage. She belongs to no master. She is free." The girl's chest burned with something new, something fierce and strange. Not chains. Not hunger, loyalty. She lifted her head high, her wild eyes burning not with madness, but with pride. The soldiers hesitated. Fear flickered in their eyes. The girl who had once been a beast now stood like a warrior beside the human. The merchant screamed, "Obey me, take her," but no one moved. The crowd whispered louder, voices rising. She chose him. She is not a beast. She is free. The girl bared her teeth in a grin, not of fury, but of triumph. With the human at her side, she roared. The sound rolled through the square like thunder. Soldiers dropped their weapons. The crowd surged forward, not to fight, but to watch, to witness. The merchant stumbled back, his power cracking like glass. The human raised his blade one last time, pointing it at the merchant. "Your chains are broken. Your beasts are free. Your power ends today." The merchant's voice cracked. You cannot," but the crowd's roar drowned him. The city no longer belonged to him. The girl squeezed the human's hand, her claws careful, her strength steady. For the first time, she bowed her head, not in fear, not in defeat, but in respect. The untamable girl had been tamed, not by chains, not by whips, but by trust. And the human, calm as ever, only said 3 words, "You're not a beast."